Marathon Season 2 is finally here, and with this new update, Bungie has completely reworked the way you upgrade your shell's power level. They've remixed the faction trees and added a new Cradle system where the loot you find on the map translates directly into the power of your runner. And that means it's time to go through the Cradle system and every faction tree to find the best and worst upgrades, the ones that are actually worth your time and salvage. Now, I think these changes are really going to help casual players, newer players get to the mid-level of loot to the blue level average, and for the grinders, getting to that gold level loot, getting the high tier stuff, it's going to be a lot more reliable. Now, starting with CyberAcme, and CyberAcme, first faction you get missions from, and they're the most unchanged faction tree. So this is going to be much the same as last season. Most important is going to be getting your vault size up, because your vault size really means the amount of runs that you can make in a single session. And considering that there's way more weapon and item effects this season, you're going to be holding on to a lot of actual full-size weapons. My methodology of last season was to keep high-level mods and sell guns that took up too much space if I could buy them from the armory. And I recommend you guys do the same, but again, you're going to be holding a lot more weaponry in your vault this season, simply because there's more weapon effects. But we also have these on the side, Informant, EXE, and Credit Limit. And I think these are both underrated because these are what let you fuel your loadout from the armory. Just not having enough credits. Something I noticed with my more casual friends last season is they did not have enough credits. And there would be situations where we would have to default to sponsored kits. Make sure you grab these and pick up all the treasures that you see on the map if they're green level or above. Over here you have the sponsored kit tabs, and the blue sponsored kits and purple sponsored kits have been improved. However, I wasn't really using the sponsored kits last season towards the end, and I think if you're playing the game correctly, you shouldn't really need those upgrades. Right here, you have Backpack, and this is where I have to explain something, because they've made a clear delineation between bartering and buying things in these faction trees. Notice this is bartering for a green backpack, and the one below it is purchasing with credits. And Bungie is trying to enforce the habit of people using their excess salvage to buy things out of the armory, because I don't think a lot of people clued into that last season. The higher tier of weaponry can cost in excess of 10,000 credit just for a single weapon, and that's why you really want to be saving up the treasures for your armory, and then saving up your ingredients for small barters like this. And on the side, you have the blue backpacks. You just got to get higher up in CyberAcme, and it's undeniable. There's no way to argue against backpacks, some of the most important things in the game. And of course, a purple backpack once you get to Syac level 30, and this is only barter. You're not going to be able to buy this. Down below, we have all the keys, and now lockbox keys and hazard keys, I don't consider these too important. The loot you get out of the lock boxes, not that great unless you're beginner level. However, you do want to be able to get the blue keys and the purple keys, and these are going to require respectively Obedience Matrix and Shell ID. That's what those blue and purple ingredients are for, so make sure you're stacking up on those. Vaults are by far the most efficient way to loot up, and if you're a newer player or it's early in the season, you should really focus on running as many vaults as possible. That's going to be the accelerated path. Now here we have some less important ones, and you're actually going to have to pay attention to what the implant names are, because Bungie changed it this season where the implant name matches what the actual perk of the implant is, rather than the stats. And some of the implants these factions sell are good, some are bad. These ones are really just about unlooted containers, cardio kick, energy amp, defeat bots with explosive to get credits. So CyberAcme is really about pushing up your vault value, but I don't think any of these implants are actually that good. You can definitely get your money up without running any of these. Now, the capstone system has seen a huge rework as well. This is going to greatly influence Rook power level as well. If you are a Rook runner, you probably already know there's no Waster shotgun anymore. The Waster shotgun has become incredibly rare. But this also influences your daily rewards. At first capstone, you get a free green backpack and daily credits. Beyond that, the standard contracts will give you credits upon completion. The next important capstone is number 4 because it'll give your Rook the blue backpack, though this will be compromised when you go into the match. And now this is cool. On capstone 5, the free backpack of the day will have the favored status effect, and favored actually gives you more faction reputation from the salvage that you're exfilling, because all salvage and all treasures have now been assigned to certain factions. So if you're getting green treasures or blue treasures, they actually fuel your faction progress, giving you yet another reason to exfil with them. And then on the final level, you get purple backpack for purchase, by the way. So you have to actually max out CyberAcme to be able to purchase the purple backpacks. The new cow tree have seen a massive nerf, and you'll still be able to get free green heals, both patch kits and shield charges, but there's nothing that gives you free blue heals. You'll have to get multiple instances of upgrades to increase the amount of blue heals you can buy per day, so it's gonna become meta to kind of buy out your stocks every single day and save up for the cryo storage or ranked sessions if that's your thing. You can also get Panacea kits and self-revives, but the self-revives have been nerfed as well. Last season, you were able to pick yourself up incredibly fast, and it made the meta pretty stagnant, especially in the close quarters maps like cryo storage. People would just get into stalemates and not be able to push into each other. And in the end, they made the shortest revive speed the default revive speed that it was at the beginning of the season. They completely nerfed the way that these self-revives work. Over on the right, though, is the most important upgrades in this tree. You got green shield for barter, blue shield for barter, and below that, green shield for credit and blue shield for credit. And you can't argue against the value of a shield. You're going to find some shields on the map, but honestly, getting shields through the armory will be a bit more reliable. Towards the end of last season, my vault was only purple shields, but I'd buy out pretty much every blue shield every single day. Signal jammers, also very undervalued. These have been a bit nerfed, but having signal jammers can be pretty useful. By the way, if you play triage and you're new to the game, your consumables go through your drones to your teammates, but they'll only last for about a fourth of the time. So if a signal jammer is 2 minutes on you, your teammates get 30 seconds of the effect. Now we have some implants, and I do appreciate how much thought Bungie put into this, because the implants here, they affect your healing speed, or you get bonuses off of a heal. For example, short time after shield charge, move faster, ready weapons more quickly. Healing increases weapon ready and reload speed, and Patch Kit grants you weapon accuracy and stability. So dependent on what weapons you're using, these can actually be pretty useful. Down below that, take damage while at full shield pings your attacker. When shield breaks, hostile pings are immediately removed, and move faster when shields are depleted. I think these are a lot more useful than the CyberAcme ones, which are mostly focused on money, but again, it's going to come down to playstyle, and some of these, if you're a triage or you're working with triages, you're not going to be able to get like maximum value off of them, because you'll constantly be healing past that shield break threshold. In the capstones, daily free items from new Caloric. Standard contracts now award shield and patch kits. On number 4, the rooks start with patch kits and shield charges, so at this point, the rook becomes a viable option to farm your heals. Number 5 with new cow gives you the favorite status effect again on a daily free shield implant. But the wording on this looks like it's another shield above your current stock, so I think this is much more valuable. And the favorite status is really just for grinding the factions. The fact that it's at the 5th capstone, this is really just to help you get to the 6th leg. I don't know how useful this really is because they put it so far in the capstone upgrades. Super important. Purple shields for barter, by the way. If I go back to CyberAcme, remember, it was purple bag for purchase, but over here on New Cal, it's for barter. So they don't want to give away these purple shields for credits. Make sure you're stacking up those high-level ingredients. It's definitely going to matter more this season. Now, the Traxus tree is much simpler, and I don't notice any barter versus purchase delineation on these. It just says available in the armory, so I think all of this is available for credits. And since these top nodes of weapons aren't really connected, it's just pick your flavor here: Retaliator, Overrun, Scar, and the KKV. KKV, very powerful, spits out ammo, uses pistol mods. It's super good because it's super new. The V75 Scar, this is actually very underrated, and this used to be in a sponsored kit. They took it out of that sponsored kit, and they made it much more rare. It was so slept on in Season 1, and it's still really good in Season 2, especially if you're playing Triage with the Volt Gun boost. But beyond that, it's really just going to come down to style. You have some chips, Afterburner, sliding reloads portion of weapon, accuracy by amount. Sustained damage reduces generated heat. The heat sink chip is something I've really keyed in on this season as I play more movement-based shells like Destroyer or Vandal. Increase your efficiency in moving around the map, and that's really what matters. You're always against the clock in this game, so you should be thinking about how much can you accomplish in the time you're on a map. And last resort, overheated non-precision damage increased. This is actually really good. There's very few chips that increase your damage, and with this you can purposely overheat yourself and then hit someone in the body to get a multiplier. In the green chips, you can eliminate to increase your sprint speed, makes you straight up faster. Moving stability and accuracy increase, this is going to be good for SMGs. Surrounded by hostiles, reloading overflows the magazine. Now, this is essential to getting that third shot in the waster. It's a whole strategy. By having the Rorschach test, or there's another chip that I forget, it may not even be in the game right now, you can get a third shot or potentially even a fourth shot into your double barrel shotgun because it will not 2-tap blue shields otherwise. There's also the option of getting the melee damage boost and putting that in your waster as well, so you can shoot melee. That will also cut through blue and purple shield. And that's this one right here, Sucker Punch. Moderately increased damage of next melee after dealing damage with the weapon. Keep these strategies in mind, because this is where you start to go into the MMORPG style of Marathon, where you see it's not just an extraction shooter, there's a whole building aspect to it as well. Then you have your mods on the bottom. Of all these mods, the ones that I think are important, actually the rangefinder lens, because this puts a lens on that KKV, and the burst pistol as well. Over here you have gun shields, which are actually super important because gun shields and gun magazines were not purchasable in the armory last season. I believe the belts that you can get for the LMGs, specifically, you have to get some schema to be able to buy those, but having gun shields on purchase, so big. Looking at the capstones, you get your daily free rewards, and then your standard contracts give you a bonus weapon mod. Skipping up to number 4, Rook starts with an enhanced weapon, and I have yet to get to this capstone yet, but last season this is what gave you silencers. This made Rook a silencer farm, a waster farm, and a blue backpack farm if you could get materials to actually stabilize it on exfil. The 5th capstone is actually really cool. Traxus offers a daily free weapon with Bot Killer, and the whole thing about Bot Killer is that you go into the match, you eliminate bots, and based on how many bots you've eliminated with that specific weapon, you'll get a chip on exfil, and you can get blue chips. I have not gotten to purple or gold chips. I have no clue how many bots you'd have to eliminate. That might be worth making a video on, trying to get a gold chip out of a Bot Killer weapon. I don't even know if it's possible. And with the superior chips, unlocks a set of superior chip mods in the armory. Again, it doesn't say barter, so if you get all the way up with Traxus, you should have some purple chips to buy. The MIDA Faction tree is actually super important. Despite the nerfs to grenade stacks, despite the nerf to grenade cook times and some damage nerfs across the board, grenades, still super important. It's just a core part of the Bungie logic. You always gotta remember, Bungie games, they're about gun, grenade, knife, pyramid. So it's all about how this triangle balances each other, and you're definitely gonna wanna get your hands on these grenade upgrades. Unlocks heat grenades for barter in the armory. Below that, you get fletchets. Now, heat grenades have seen a big nerf. I think they're a lot less good. They're really only good for battling the higher level bots, because, pro tip, they actually disable those bots from using their abilities, because, like you, their abilities are based in their heat. However, the fletchets have become one of my favorite grenades, and definitely one of the most meta grenades, because not only do they heal you, but they stay in a certain area and they patrol them kind of like a better claymore. They'll let you know if people are coming through the door, and they protect doors very well. Under that, you got chem grenades, which are okay. I think the good thing about chem grenades is they do damage over time through the shield. They don't do any shield damage, just health. And they'll leave a trail. If people get touched by the chem grenade and they walk away, you'll actually see some footprints of chem. And so you can track them if they're trying to escape, or if they go into vents or little tunnels, they start ratting or something, they'll glow. So it might actually be a bit more useful on something like Night Marsh as well. And here at the end of that track, unlocking increases MIDA's stock of equipment, and you're probably going to want to get both levels of this if you can, because that's just maximum level of grenade per day. And nades, super important. On this side, you have the frag grenade, and the frag grenade, somehow, still underrated. It does quite a bit of damage. I think it got a nerf. I don't know if it's enough to cut through a blue shield, but it should cut through a green shield and leave people super vulnerable. And an underrated aspect of it too is that traps in the splash damage, say their claymores, their proximity sensors like this, they'll actually take damage from this grenade and could even be destroyed. EMP grenades, I don't know about these ones. They bounce 3 times, do some damage. Really what these are about is a special chip that does more damage to players affected by the EMP. I think it also has a thing where it can disable powers as well, but despite being blue, this is one of the most underutilized grenades in the game, and I don't really use it either. And I'll point out that all of these are for barter, initially. until you get the equipment upgrade, which then enhanced equipment can be purchased for credits, and then deluxe equipment can be purchased for credits. And honestly, I don't know if you even need the second level of this. Just getting the green grenades, that being the frag and the fletchets, I think that can carry you all the way into cryo storage. The other two are supplemental. For me, fletchet frag, those are the holy grail of the grenade class right now. I mentioned the proc sensor, and I do have this upgrade. I only got it to get the capstone. What I think is more important is that you can get a deluxe ammo crate, which is going to give you more rare ammo types, and then you can have it include a proximity sensor by upgrading your grenade case. And you can even upgrade it to get rid of the sensor and just put a green grenade in there. That could be a prox or a frag grenade. So that's pretty cool. This actually consolidates your inventory too. That's the great thing about ammo boxes, is you can have your teammates not bringing ammo, you bring them ammo, and then you save the space on a grenade, which a grenade is always going to take up 2 squares. Next to it, you have the cardio kicks for unlocking the armory, which cardio kicks can be pretty useful. Unlocks them for purchase. But I will say that there are multiple ways to start your run with Cardio Kick or activate Cardio Kick with weapon ships and implants, so having actual Cardio Kicks isn't as useful as it seems. I will say that MIDA has some of my favorite implants in the game, and it's really just that it protects you from bot damage. Reduce incoming bot explosive and melee, reduce incoming bot damage from ballistic, and reduce incoming bot damage from volts. And if you have all of these, your chip damage from the bots is significantly less. This makes running maps like cryo storage a lot simpler, though if you have like gold or purple implants, you'll probably run those in cryo instead. But I think these implants are supremely underrated. It's so annoying to be in a fight and then take massive damage from a bot that sees you from some other angle, and this is literally going to help your survivability. The next level of chips are about survivability as well. I think it's really hard to be worse than the CyberAcme chips because they're all about credits, but these ones are just okay. While in smoke, your self-repair speed increased, but you're not really going to be carrying those smoke grenades unless you're assassin. That's a very assassin-coded chip. Damaging a hostile with a thrown or placed equipment pings them for a short period, but honestly, if you're in the range to throw a piece of equipment, then you pretty much know where that enemy is anyway. Damaging a hostile with explosive equipment briefly grants a large agility boost. And this is where I gotta note that agility is not movement speed. Agility is technically the speed at which you perform your animation. So if you're parkouring over something, if you're jumping down something, if you're climbing up a ladder, that's actually what your agility influences, but it's not going to be your running speed. With the MIDA capstones, you'll get daily free items with the first. On the second, your contracts now award you a grenade, and this is so valuable because the actual grenade stock in the armory has been nerfed. The ability to acquire grenades and stack them in general has been nerfed. You're going to be exfilling with less from the map, so every grenade you can get just has that much more value. Rooks will now start runs with a heat grenade, and we see yet another instance of the Rook being nerfed. No more claymores for the Rook, it's just a heat grenade, and by the way, heat grenade does half damage now. So the real function of this is to hit someone so they can't chase you as you're running. MIDA offers a daily free implant with a level up status, and now this is very interesting. The level up works by exfilling. When you exfil 4 times, you will increase the rarity of that item to the next level. That's less useful on a green, more useful on a blue or a purple item. With a purple item, you can get a gold without having to raid a vault. You just gotta get lucky enough for it to have the level up effect. And then full throttle, gain the effects of cardio kick for a short duration. This again demonstrates how having actual cardio kicks, once you're upgraded enough, once you have good enough weapon chips and implants, it's kind of a useless item. The Arachne tree has seen some massive reworks, and a lot of the weapons that were here have been moved over to other factions, and you have the twin tap available. This weapon, it's okay. It's a semi-automatic, kind of underrated. It was a bit too rare for the power level last season, so I'm actually happy to see it here and usable for most players. If we go to the right, we have the Railgun, and this is a weapon that is actually improved in performance. I think Railgun is going to do very well this season, especially since it takes a LiDAR scope, so it's incredibly good on the Night Marsh map right now. Notice these are both barter, so you actually have to get a third upgrade to unlock them for purchase in the armory. And beyond that, when you purchase it, you'll receive an enhanced weapon mod on it, Deluxe Superior. So if you're looking to play that range DMR game, this is definitely the track for you, and I think that's a very important part of this game. Everyone focuses on the close quarters, but depending on the map, all the way up until Cryo, when you're in the middle of the control room because it has multiple levels of verticality, you could be using these railguns and this twin tap, and even snipers to great effectiveness. Below these you have bolstered arms. Unlocking increases Arachne's stock of weapon for sale, and you can increase it even further. And this is where at the later levels of play, you'll be relying on your armory to get your weapons more so than taking them off the map. And you'll want to make your vault about holding high-level mods, high-level heals, and as many grenades as possible. Below the twin tap, you have the mods, and of all these mods, I think it's really the scopes that matter. Having a rangefinder optic on your actual long-range weapon, that's going to make a big deal. Bits per second, this chip is really good on something like a Strider or a twin tap, or even a volley. Precision hits temporarily increase stability, and this is going to turn it into a laser of headshots. But below that is where you actually make them purchasable. Increase the stock, further increase the stock, and then down here, unlock them for purchase. So we've really noticed that Bungie has delineated bartering and purchasing in the armory, and you have to unlock the ability to barter before you can purchase. So in the beginning, actually, I think the basic ingredients, the common and the greens, you should really be trying to grab as many of those as possible. In the top right, we have some odd ones. Unlocks deployable equipment for purchase, unlocks Frost Mine for barter. The Frost Mine, I'm not so sure if it's good yet. It is a defensive-based item. It's going to be a bit more powerful in the Sentinel meta, a bit more powerful in the close quarters maps like Outpost Cryo. But ultimately, I think aggressive grenades will be rewarded overall. I don't think Marathon has enough heroes to support a truly defensive playstyle yet. We're still very much in the rush meta. But maybe in a season or two, with a couple more shells introduced, I could see this grenade, this mine, being very valuable. With Arachne's implants, they're almost all about the knife. And if you're into the knife, this is big. If you're an assassin, you move faster with your knife equipped. Defeat a hostile with melee or knife attack restores small amount of shields, and this is something you'd have to upgrade your shell to actually acquire, so having it on an implant, very valuable. Knife heavy attacks briefly apply toxin. Striking hostiles with melee gives you a stacking bonus to melee damage. Interesting. Defeat hostile increases tactical ability recharge, and then this one is kind of odd. Cleansing status effects increases melee damage or self-repair speed respectively. So it's actually that if you do the software, you get self-repair. But if you do the hardware, you get melee damage. And I'm going to tell you 9 times out of 10, you're going to be fixing your hardware first. So all this is knife-centric. All of these are really assassin-based. If that's your style, maybe invest in them. But I don't think they're that important. When it comes to the capstones, you get daily free items from Arachne. The daily free items are super important, and the way they've rearranged the armory puts them at the very top, so at least having capstone 1 of every faction is going to be very valuable. Standard contracts award a gadget or weapon mod. Weapon mod is more important. As we saw, the gadgets here would be Frost Mine and Trap Bag. With level 4, the Rook now starts runs with implants, and that's okay. But last season, this used to give the Rook a waster. Now very valuable. Claymores, more rare. Rook, super weak. But the 5th one is pretty interesting if you play ranked. Arachne offers daily free weapon with the Contender status effect. And boiling Contender down, you eliminate 5 enemy runners during a ranked match, and you'll get extra rank points at the end. And Steady Hand, this one has not changed. Allows you to disarm Claymore mines. Though I don't know how valuable Claymore mines anymore. It seems like it's a learning curve, much like the Trap Bag. After you play the game for a few weeks, you're going to recognize the signs of a mine. You're going to see the glowing stuff. You're not going to fall for the Trap Bag because you're going to notice the different lettering. These are ultimately just knowledge checks, so I don't know if having disarm Claymore Mine at the very end of the capstone is even worth it. Now let's talk about Sekiguchi, because this faction is going to be the least familiar to players, especially if you're new, because you have to complete all of the other faction missions first to get here, but it is perhaps the most important. Particularly if you're wanting to do hero stuff and interact with the shell's abilities. Right here at the beginning you can see unlocks energy amps for barter, and this is actually very big. With some of the shells like Destroyer, I've developed the strategy of coming in with the energy amps, immediately popping them so that by the time the first fight happens, you have your special power. For Destroyer, that's a missile volley. It can absolutely change the course of a fight. And both of these are actually going to be for barter. They're not for purchase. Bungie actually recognizing the true value of these, and I recommend exfilling with energy amps early if you see them as well. The Sekiguchi sponsored kits, I've kind of skipped over all the sponsored kits in this, but I would say they're not really worth buying until you get to blue, because at the blue level you'll get blue heals, and that's going to make it valuable. But otherwise you can kind of ignore them. Here's something that's super important in Sekiguchi: Cradle efficiency. Increase the Cradle XP from matter conversion by 5%, 10%, and 15%. Though this is going to require a predictive framework, this will probably be the first thing I use my predictive framework on, because ultimately the Cradle is what makes your shell powerful. We're going to talk about that in a quick second, but it's modular. You can change it based on the shell you're using, and it has a dramatic influence on your gameplay. Over here, we can unlock enhanced cores for Triage, Assassin, and Sentinel. Right here, enhanced cores for Recon and Thief, and here, Vandal and Destroyer. So they've kind of sorted them based on information, support, and aggression. If you go down, you have deluxe cores, and then maybe these will let you buy the purple cores. I'm assuming that these nodes will not be unlocked this season, and because this doesn't say barter or purchase, I assume it means purchase. I can actually go check right now. Actually, based on what I see down here, you'll have a barter and a purchase option for these implants, so that's very useful. You can trade for it or you can buy it with credit. Beyond these cores, you're going to notice that the implants really just affect your shell's potential. So Energy Amp grants tactical prime to nearby crew members. This is a bit useless because, as I've mentioned before, you want to give your consumables to your triage and have your triage distributed across the whole team. But the next one, defeating hostiles, grants you and allies a bonus to hardware and firewall. This stacks, but again, not so useless if you have a high-level shell. Rather not so useful, gain an increase to your hardware and firewall stats based on number of items in bag. These will decline in usefulness for sure. Abilities recharge more quickly when sprinting and sliding. This one actually could have a lot of use, especially if you're a Vandal or you're moving around a close quarters map doing a lot of dodging and weaving. Defeat a hostile with a knife grants tack and prime ability, good for the assassin builds. And the activates prime ability grants bonus agility, sprint speed, and weapon handling. This, I think, is the most valuable of this entire bunch. And keep in mind with these nodes, as you go up them, you get access to higher levels of rarity of that same thing. But at the very end, I'm interested. Does this mean we'll be able to get gold checkmates? Daily free items, of course. On number 2, contracts now award cores. Now, I will say this one is a bit overwhelming because I had way too many cores. I was starting to just sell them for credits at the end. Since you can only use 2 per round, and you really only want to be using the best cores anyway. On number 4, Rook will now start with runner cores, and I'm interested to see if they're better than what he had last season. I think last season he just had increases to his firewall software and the ability to find data cards more easily. Sekiguchi offers daily free runner cores with the level up. Now this can be very good because, as we've already said with level up, you can actually make some game-changing plays with these cores and get them to higher levels of rarity. But the interesting part here is that the effects of cores do not stay the same between rarities, so leveling up a core might actually change its effect. And then Freelux grants a daily free blue core and unlocks Sekiguchi upgrades. The capstones of this are really not that important. All of the Sekiguchi value is in the faction upgrades themselves. Now let's talk about the Cradle, because this is so influential on your shell's power level. It's all about recycling loot to gain points to level up these 6 stats right here. And depending on what shell you like to play, you're going to want to go all in on some of these stats, but just know you can actually de-level them and level them up at a whim. There is absolutely no negative to taking away points and putting them in another tree, so you should be doing this every time you change shells. For example, with the strength stat, you'll get more melee damage, and at the very bottom level, you can't even kill the basic level bots with a single knife stab, so you're going to need a little bit of this. You're going to want more if you're running Assassin. We'll go through the important nodes too, because some of these I think are actually worth having most of the time. Starting with strength, the first node is resisting damage when performing a finish, and I actually do recommend this. There's been quite a few times I've downed someone as they're finishing my teammate, and it ultimately helped me get the squad wipe and get my teammate back up. It's a high commitment to get that finish, but it does give you self-heal, so it really is worth it. You just gotta be really smart about how you do this. Melee and knife attacks generate less heat, less useful, but at the end, you get leech life. Knife attacks restore small amount of health, and we saw there was an implant that did this, so doubling those up as an assassin going around being invisible in the smoke, you're gonna piss a lot of people off with that build. In the recharge, this I think is the single most important tree. Start each run with a portion of tactical ability, start each portion with prime ability, and then downing a runner grants you tactical energy, eliminating a runner grants you prime ability. This would also be really good with an assassin as well. I believe if you have maximum level Cradle, you can fully upgrade 5 of these, but your 6th one won't have any points. Dexterity is interesting because it's your agility and your loot speed, so it's how fast you perform interactions and how fast loot is revealed to you in the box. So if you're playing something like a thief, this is a huge tree for you. First node, opening unlooted container grants you bonus tactical ability, and for a thief, this is going to be her grapple hook, so that's very useful. Sprint slide generates less heat. This is going to be for vandals, but this is universally applicable to all shells. And then at the very end, gain the effects of cardio kick for a short duration at the beginning of a run. So you see, by leveling up MIDA, you can have the cardio kick at the beginning, and then leveling up dexterity, you can have cardio kick. And then with a bunch of chips and implants, you can have more cardio kicks. So despite it being a blue consumable, not really that valuable. And I drive home the difference between agility and speed because on endurance, you get more heat capacity. This is actually going to make you traverse through the map faster because you'll be running longer. Agility can contribute to you going faster, but it's really just about climbing and parkouring. With endurance, your quick vent. Your heat recovery begins more quickly after actions. Heat dissipation, your generated heat recovers more quickly, so it's when your heat restarts and how fast it regenerates. Both of these perks incredibly useful. And the third node, eliminating a hostile reduces heat buildup. This is another tree that's really big for something like a destroyer, because his dashes and tactical runs all about heat, and this is just going to give you more movement potential in the firefight. Now we have support. This is revive speed and ping duration. Really good for the triages and the recons, but also for the new shell Sentinel, because his pings from his directional radar count under this as well. TADs you activate have an increased area of effect. TADs are alright, it depends on how the match is going. Something about TADs is that, yes, when you use them, you reveal your enemy, but you also give away tactical advantage of surprise. Like, if they don't know you're there and you activate a TAD, now they know you're there. Sometimes sneaking up on them and shooting one guy down is the better option. Factory reset, revive a crew member, restores a portion of your health over time, and increasing the amount of health your downed allies recover when you revive them. Obviously, these are really good on the triage, but I would also say if you're a team player assassin, this is going to benefit you immensely as well. The final one is resistance, self-repair speed, hardware, firewall, and this is going to be one of the most useful in solos because it's all about avoiding chip damage. On the first, while downed, you bleed out more slowly, and a tip for solo play, always play with a self-revive. But start stacking the static casket cord because this puts a signal jammer on you when you get downed. Combined with this, where you bleed out more slowly, you'll actually have a chance of getting that self-revive off. It takes a long time now. It got a nerf partway through Season 1, but most fights you get in solos, they're going to start at a distance, and then they're going to have to cover that distance. So the ability to survive while they're covering, get back up, get a heal, and engage in that close quarters, man, it can really save your games. Next, you have reduced damage from ticks, lightning, and heat cascade. This one is less useful. I really think the heat cascade is where this matters on Outpost, because then you'll be able to move through the heat storms. And then Field Medic. Your medical consumables take less time to use. Absolutely a freaking goated bonus to have in the solo environment. You can also get that from some chips and implants as well. When it comes to solo Marathon, it really is all about survival. So mitigating chip damage, making sure you can get your self-revives off, and making sure you can heal as fast as possible. Those are really your 3 tenets of success in the solo environment. That's usually why I play Triage most of the time. I know people prefer Assassin because he goes invisible, but man, the ability to heal yourself and power boost your Volt weapons, check out Triage and Solo Marathon, it might just change your mind. And that's everything you need to know about the faction upgrades and Cradle system in Marathon Season 2, but I highly recommend you check out this video next to me. It's a bunch of tips I learned throughout Season 1. It consolidates over 100 hours of my gameplay at the time into a bunch of tips that can definitely help you out if you're a beginner player, casual player, intermediate player, and be sure to like and subscribe for more Marathon videos.